Hey ho! Today we're gonna go over how to make Coraline the cat hat in crochet. First we need yarn. You can find the size of yarn on the label and find the corresponding crochet hook that's needed for that. In this case we're gonna split the difference and use 3.5mm yarn instead of the 2.5 to 4mm. But we're gonna put that to the side, because to begin with, for the first chain, you want to use one that's a bit bigger. So we're going to use 4.5 for this. And the reason for that is so that the first chain isn't too tight, and so it becomes stretchy like the rest of your work. Now we're going to take our yarn, and we are going to create a little loop at the end for which to put our hook through. And we're just going to tighten that up. There we go. And I made mine so that when I put my hook through, I can adjust it like that. Now we're going to start chaining, and for this first one, I chain 94, and you want to base it off of the circumference of your head or the head of the person you're making it for, so make sure you measure every now and then. Now we're going to add an extra loop at the end after we've done our 94, so we're just going to go like that. There we are. And now we're going to switch to the crochet hook we're going to use for the rest of the project, which is the 3.5, not the 4.5. So we just switch that out right there. And then we tighten up. And the reason why we have that extra hook is that it's going to serve as like a step up in our project to go to the next level as we go and work our way back. If we don't add that extra leg up, then our work will start decreasing as we go up until we're left with very few rows, and that's useless when it comes to a beanie. So what you're going to do now is you're going to find not the stitch that you made your last chain in, see right there, but you're going to want to go into the one next to it, right there. And then you're going to grab some yarn, pull through, and you're going to do a single stitch, so you're going to grab some more yarn and pull through the other two. Then you're going to go into the next chain, and you're going to do again, stab through, pull some yarn, get some more yarn, and then pull through the other two. And this is going to continue all the way down until you reach to the end. I've now switched to a lighter color so it's easier to see, but I have 2 more stitches I need to do. So we go in here, grab the yarn, pull through, and then grab some more and pull through again. And then that last one, which was our first loop at the beginning of the chain. Now my work is going to be shorter for the remainder of the video because the lighter yarn is not my final project yarn, so yours is going to be a lot longer, but it serves a purpose in teaching the mechanics of it. Now we're going to chain 1 like we did at the other end, and this is our step up into the next row of work. Then we're going to flip it around like that, and we're going to start working our way back across. Now, once again, we're not going to work into the stitch where we did the chain 1, but rather we're going to do the one that's below there and level with the rest of the work, because if we were to do the one there, it would just keep on growing and growing. So we're going to do a simple single crochet there, and we are going to do it in the next one as well. And you can see, if you look at the top of the work, there's a bunch of V's. And you want to make sure that you're grabbing both sides of the V's as you're single crocheting. That way you create a thicker project. And you can see there's both of the V's grabbed. Grab some yarn, pull through, grab some more yarn, pull through again. And this repeats all the way to the end. Now we've reached the end of our second row, and you can see I have 2 more stitches. It looks like one, but there's a hidden one at the end, which is specific for this first one. Now we're just going to do a single crochet right through there, and pull through again. And then we're going to grab that sneaky little last one. Make sure to get both of the V's, just like I talked about before. It's a little tricky on this part, but you get there, grab some yarn, pull through, grab some more yarn, pull through again. And now you've done 2 rows and 1 chain and gotten off to a pretty good start. Then you're gonna chain 1 and turn the work around again and work your way back. Now once again, the reasoning for this single crochet is so that your work doesn't exponentially expand with every row. So we're not going to grab that first V, but the second V. It's very elusive, but you'll get to the hang of it as you go through more projects. And we're just going to single crochet our way back across like we did before. Now you can either choose to do 15 inches of just rows back and forth and doing the single crochet again and again, or you can choose to have eyes and a nose based on a pattern from Ravelry for cat eyes and nose, but the whiskers and the mouth will be added separately afterwards. So it's up to you if you want that. Then there's also the button eyes, which you can sew on at a later time, which is later on in the video on how to do that. So it's all up to preference. Now one thing that's different about this next row is that when you get to the end, there's a little nub in there, you can see. That marks the end of our work. So right now we only have 2 more stitches. The last one is no longer hidden away. It's very prominently propped up. So we just do 2 normal single crochets, make sure to grab both of the ends of the V's, and then you're done. So let's assume we've finished our 15 inches up and our 94 rows, and we want to add whiskers. Now this can be done either before or after you wrap it up and create the beanie itself by doing a little folding like that, but I'm going to do it beforehand because my work is so tiny that it would make it more difficult. So we're going to place our yarn that we want for the whiskers in the back, and we're going to pick a hole, put our crochet hook through it, and as you can see from the back, we grab some yarn and then we pull it through. Now for the next bit, we're gonna see there's another hole right next to the one we went through, and we're gonna go through there, creating a nice little loop. And as you can see from the back, we're gonna grab some yarn. Make sure not to grab the tail end, but to grab the part that's connected to your ball of yarn. Then we're gonna pull that through, and then we're gonna pull it through the little loop that we created with the original pull through. And from there, we're just gonna find the next hole, grab some yarn, pull through, and then pull through again. And that starts to create a nice little pattern, as you can see right there. Now, depending on where you want your whiskers to come from, say the eye is up there, then the whiskers would be facing out and fanning out in a nice pattern. And we're just gonna continue that for a bit, just to show the mechanics again. But you can also decide to go up or down, diagonal. It really just depends on where you want to go. I recommend only moving one space at a time. Think of it like a checkerboard, going only to one square at a time. But this is how you can manipulate your whiskers or your mouth to whatever form you want. And it's sort of like you're crocheting outward from the base of your work. And you just continue in that fashion. Keep on pulling the yarn through and pull through the original loop that you had. And then once you're satisfied with how your work looks, you just pull the yarn through a little bit more instead of creating another loop. And then you can simply cut there or cut afterwards, depending on your preference. And then from the back, you're gonna pull the yarn through so that the end is in the back and you can easily sew it or tuck it away. And that's how you make the whiskers and the mouth. Next up, we're gonna go over how to close your work to make it into an actual beanie. So you can see here's my front side. So we're gonna flip it to the back because we want that facing out as we're working to close up our work. Now we're gonna fold it in half like so and match up the sides that we've been working on. And you can see the tail end there, and that's where our first chain was, the brim of the hat, if you will. And this is going to be the side of the hat that we're working on. So it's going to be working up from there. Now we're going to move our yarn to the back, so it's like regular crocheting. And from there, we're just going to go through on one side and go through on the other side, grab some yarn, pull that through both of the sides. And if you want a thick seam, you can grab some yarn and pull through both, but I want mine to be not too thick. So instead, I'm just going to take that one that we pulled through both sides and pull through the original loop. And that's how we combine it. And then you're just going to work your way slowly but surely up the side. So you're going to go through both sides, grab some yarn, and oh, some bad habits, but pull through that other yarn that you pulled through both sides through the original. And back through both sides, grab some yarn, pull through the original. And that's just going to continue up the side. And now we're going through our last one, and just pull through, and now we've created a little tube. And you can see that it's circular, very nice. This is where the head will go through, and we're one step closer to creating a nice hat with a nice little seam. Now you don't have to cut the yarn at this point. You can if you want to, but I'm just going to fold it in half. But I'm going to fold it in half so that the seam is in the middle, because you want the seam to be in the back of the hat. So, and we're still doing it inside out because we want all of our seams to be on the inside of the hat. Now we're just going to face our work however we want, and we're going to start by doing the same thing we did before on one half, and then we're going to make our way back and do it on the other half. So, start off with a little through one side, through the other, grab some yarn, and then pull it through. And you're just going to keep on working that all the way down the line, just like we did before. Make sure to not take too many leaps and bounds, no matter which way you're going, because otherwise it starts to bunch up. Now we've reached the end, and at this point you can cut and start over in the middle, but I'm just going to work my way back. And again, not too many leaps and bounds so that it doesn't bunch up and lose its shape, because the entire point of this cat hat is its shape. And now we're making our way back around on the other side with just a normal go through both, pull some yarn, and pull through. And this just continues all the way down. Now that we've done our last one, we can choose to go back to the center and reinforce it like on the other side, but I don't feel like doing that, so I'm just going to chain one, pull the yarn, and I'll cut that later. But now we are going to turn our work right side out, and this is where it starts to take its shape. Now it doesn't look like much in its current form. You can see where we put our whiskers and all that, but once it's on a head, you can start to see the ears start to take form. Here's a little snippet of how I did double crochet with 2 different colors, and I can do a more in-depth video of that later on, but there should be others on YouTube as well, where I just go under, grab some yarn, you see the black yarn on top, and then the black yarn's on the bottom when I grab the second bout of yarn. And this just continues, and you want to make sure you're working from the back when you do that. But this is what it looks like with a little mouth and whiskers, and you can see the ears start to take form as promised. And this is what the cat looks like before you put the button eyes, if you choose to keep it like that. Next up, we're going to do the buttons. Now, you can usually do a magic circle, but for me, I'm going to just create my normal little hook, move that aside, and put my crochet hook there. And then I'm going to chain 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to find the original one, and I'm actually going to add one more chain just to make the circle a little bigger. And then I'm gonna slip stitch one through the original, so it skips over the other chains. And then you can create a small little circle there. Don't worry if you can't find the circle itself, it doesn't matter, it's just an anchor point to put all your double crochets, which is the next step. Now we're gonna chain 1, 2, if we can get there, and 3. And from here, we are going to do double crochets. Now those first 3 chains counted as our first double crochet, so we're doing another one. And in case you didn't get that, we're gonna grab some yarn. We're gonna go to our little center circle, gonna pull some yarn through, pull through 2, grab some more yarn, and pull through 2 again. And you can slow down this part, I know it's a little bit fast. Forget how slow it needs to be, but you do this around 10 to 12 times depending on how tightly packed you want your circle to be. And we're just gonna continue and continue. And you can see the circle part start to form itself. And there's a little bit of a bulky side, but don't worry about that. That will be covered by the other double crochets as we work our way through. So there's just a few more double crochets we need to do. Now if you're like me and you forget to count how many you have, it's easy, you just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're gonna add a few more just to get to the counting we want to have. And keep track of how many double crochets you do, because if you want to increase the size of your circle, you're gonna wanna add that many double crochets to the double crochets you already have. I'll explain later. And after the last double crochet, we just grab our top chain that we did in the beginning and slip stitch through. Now this size is perfect for my tiny little hat, but for a regular sized hat, which you inevitably want to do, you might want the buttons to be of a bigger size so that they're more visible. Now we're gonna get started on that. First we chain 3 and 3. And now we're gonna do a double crochet into that, you see that little hole that appears when you pull on your chain? Gonna double crochet right into there, because that will count as our second double crochet into that section. Now what we're gonna do to increase the size but keep it flat is, you see these little V's, once you look at the top, we're gonna double crochet twice into each of those V's. So here's our first one into the next V, and do a little double crochet. And then we're gonna do one into the same V that we just did. And this pattern is gonna continue all the way around. Now if you wanted to do an extra one at the top, we would do maybe a double crochet into one of them and then 2 double crochets into the next one. But for this project, you shouldn't need much bigger than what we're doing right now, with just 2 double crochets into each one. Right there, and right there, and so on. Once we've done double crochets twice in each V, we can finish it off by slip stitching into the top of the chain 3 we did before, and then pulling through. Now you want to pull through a sizable amount, because what you're going to do once you put this on, you're going to do a cross stitch with black yarn, which will be shown in the next one, and then you're going to use this extra yarn to sew the sides down so it looks more aesthetically pleasing on the hat itself and doesn't flap all around. Now you just need to make 2 of those, 1 and 2. And it's the same process. Then you take needle and thread, and then you do a little, start from the back, do a little X. I like to do them twice, and then you have your little cat from Coraline with button eyes.